And President Trump did something that no other president has done. First off, they only come every 4 years. So you got the Secretary of Defense, you have the head of the Joint Chiefs. There are people who come, Secretary of, I believe, Secretary of State also shows up. So the president only comes once every 4 years. And President Trump wanted to do this. And of course, West Point will welcome the president if the president wants to come. But he did something no president had ever done, which is he recognized cadets from the podium for their exceptional and extraordinary leadership, for their truly almost unimaginable capability to get things done, both intellectually, militarily, and physically. And what I enjoyed most is that he invited them to come up to the podium and say a few words as the ultimate recognition of what they had achieved and what they were about to do. And that's never been done before. And the cadets absolutely loved it because it said that they matter. West Point as an academy produces the finest young men and women in the country. They do it through training. They do it through character. They do it through an educational background that is so broad and so comprehensive. And to recognize those cadets personally for their achievements was really special, and the cadets loved it.
He did it, of course, in his own way. You heard the remark about trophy wives, drag shows, talking about the former president wearing a hat. None of that was included in your analysis as someone who was there, Frank, and that's why we wanted to bring you on, to have a sense of not only how it went over for people who were there, the cadets and their families, but also to get a sense of how political this actually was and how positive or optimistic it may or may not have felt while we were there. Are we paying attention to all the wrong things?
Well, remember that cadets cannot discuss, they can discuss, but they cannot exhibit partisan behavior, and they don't. And what's amazing about these young men and women is that unlike Harvard, and I get yelled at for doing this, but I'm doing it anyway, unlike the other universities who stage protests, unlike the attempts of other students to disrupt and prevent the exchange of ideas, at West Point, there is an attitude of respect, a commitment to decency and civility. And in the end, they want to hear every opinion of every individual, and they do not wish to engage in partisan politics. So that what the president says, they saw as entertaining, they saw as being enlightening, but they don't come to a conclusion because they're there to learn. They're not performers. They're not about showing their politics and their partisanship. They're there to represent the academy, and most importantly, to defend the Constitution. And that's the thing I wish that your listeners really understood. A cadet doesn't take an oath to the president, doesn't take an oath to the country even. They take an oath to uphold the Constitution, and that's what makes this so special. And that's why I was so happy that it was the president, not just the Secretary of Defense or not just the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that the president wanted to be there to say thank you to the cadets from a grateful nation. And to me, that's what we should be focused on.
And we are, as we spend time with Frank Luntz, live on Bloomberg, knowing the honorable intentions of these cadets. Did the president comport himself appropriately?
There's some stuff that he said that was ad lib. There's some stuff that was about things that were not directly involving the cadets and involving the decisions that will need to be made over the weeks, months, and years to follow. But the president made a commitment to the military that was uncompromising and made a commitment to the cadets that they would have the best equipment, that they would have the best innovation, that they would be represented well. And I take the president at his word, just as I was there for Joe Biden's convention speech last year, which was quite different. And I appreciate how the participants carry themselves and how they have made a commitment to serve whoever is the president in whatever way they're asked to serve, as long as it upholds the Constitution. Look at, consider this. Every institution in America, education, politics, law, the courts, Congress, healthcare, every institution is at all-time lows in terms of trust and credibility, but not the military. Because the military doesn't take sides. The military doesn't approve or disapprove of someone because of what partisanship they come from, what initial they have after the name, whether R or D. And West Point is the tip of the spear for those institutions. And so they don't have this conversation about whether something was great or horrible. They simply have a conversation about what they need to know to serve, and serve with exceptionalism, serve in an extraordinary way, because excellence isn't good enough for them. These are not the top 10% America. These is the top 1% of America, and they deliver it every single day.
Did you get to talk to the president at all while he was there, Frank?
I did last year with Biden. This president did not, because he wanted to spend more time with the cadets. He did not have the same kind of interaction with some of the faculty. And I appreciate that, because in the end, yes, I'd like to shake his hand. And I'm a collector of challenge coins, so I'd love to get his challenge coin. But in the end, I'd rather have him spend more time with the cadets and less time with us. And his speech, which was 57 minutes long, was longer than past speeches because he had more to say.